Morning guys. Okay, I just wanted to take you guys through our filtering and bottling process for maple syrup. Got it boiling off here. So today we're going to be filtering and bottling, we got there about 8 gallons of pure maple syrup. So what's in this pot here came from, obviously from the evaporator, and we draw off the evaporator once it's syrup into this pot here. And then once I get about 4.5 to 5 gallons in this 10-gallon pot, I just put it on the stove and I heat it back up to about 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And then with this little valve right here, I put them into 5-gallon food grade pails. And these Canadian Tire pails happen to be food grade. They're HDPE, high density polyethylene pails, meant for liquids, long-term storage up to 230 degrees. Along with the lids as well. This one has a hole in it, but like a fresh lid like that is what we would use. And I store it in those pails until we're ready to bottle. So that could be a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. You could even store it in those pails for a year or longer, because it's basically been packaged in there properly. It's been heated up to temperature to kill any bacteria. I tip the buckets a little bit to sterilize the lids once they're full. And then when I'm ready to bottle, like I am today, I dumped in 2 pails. So like I said, the pails are about 4 and a bit gallons each. So we've got about 8 gallons in there, and then we use some for in the bottom of the pot there. So we're going to warm this up today, and we're going to monitor it with this temperature gauge. So we're going to warm it up to just under 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which will get it warm enough to put it through our vacuum filter, and just makes everything flow nice. And I'll also do a density check on it before we put it through the filter, just to double check one more time that it is in fact maple syrup. And then from there, and we'll show you this process, but we're going to come out of this spout. Oh, and sorry, I just wanted to quickly mention, I've just got it on sort of like a medium to low heat right now. You don't want it like full blast, because you have the chance to burn the syrup that's right at the base of the pan there. So I keep it on kind of like a medium low, and it takes about an hour to heat up 8 gallons. So it's not a quick process, but you just want to be gentle. You don't want more niter or sugar sand to precipitate out of this solution than is necessary. So anyway, from there, once it's heated up, we're going to put it through this 15-gallon vacuum filter press, or vacuum filter from CDL. So I'll show you the setup, but basically 2 filters will go in there, a pre-filter and then a final filter, an Orlon final filter. And then we hook a vacuum onto this pipe here, and it essentially pulls the maple syrup through that and into this container. You've got a sight glass here that will show you the level. You got a temperature gauge to make sure that you are bottling above 180 degrees Fahrenheit to kill any bacteria. It didn't come with this ball valve. It came with the ball valve I just showed you on that other Toronto Brewing Company pot. I just put this 1/2-inch reducer, 3/4 to 1/2-inch reducer on here to go to this 1/2-inch ball valve. It's just a lot nicer for bottling. And then I just welded this little stainless 3/8 spout. You can buy these. I think Smoky Lake Maple sells them. It's called the Gonzo spout. But I just did a reducer from 1/2 to 3/8. And then just welded this little stainless here with stainless TIG wire. And then it's really nice. It fits into pretty much any bottle, even the tiny bottles. So that works well. And the nice thing about this pot, if I can show you, people that don't know. So you unclip these. And again, I'll show you this setup process. This comes off. This filter comes out. There's a gasket to make sure the vacuum doesn't leak. And if you can see there's a sort of a taper in the bottom of the pot. It comes from the sides down to the middle, sides down the middle, and then from the back it tapers right down to the spout. So you can literally get every last drop of syrup out of this when you're bottling, which is great. So you don't have a bunch wasted sloshing around the bottom. You're not trying to tip the pot or whatever. So it's pretty well designed. It's our first year using it. Pretty happy with it. It makes crystal clear maple syrup. And actually I'll show you the difference. Hopefully you can see. I'm just going to grab a bottle of filtered maple syrup. Okay, so try to do these beside each other. So that's filtered. I mean, there's like nothing in it. Those little specks you see are just the bubbles on the label. But I'll get a bottle that we did just through like one of those filters right there, the sock or whatever you want to call it. And that's this one. And it's just like a little foggier. Put them both up. I don't know if you can see that, but I mean it is, yeah, they can kind of see it there. You can see how clear the one on the right is. Still very, very like good to use, totally edible, but it's just nice to have a good filtered product where you won't have any sediment in the bottom. Okay, so once this is warmed up, we will show you the setup of the filter and how it pulls it through the press. Oh, sorry, one more thing. We use this Diatomaceous Earth, which a lot of maple producers will know what it is. But all this is ground up fossilized shells, microscopic. And what happens is we mix, I do about 1/4 to 1/2 a cup of this DE per gallon of maple syrup. And that gets mixed into this pot just before we filter. It's a food grade DE. It gets mixed into the pot. It dissolves very well actually. And when we pull that solution through the filter press, it creates almost like a cake on the filter press, and the filter won't let any of the DE through, and the DE actually helps to trap the impurities in the maple syrup, the sugar sand, and it makes your filter last longer because that cake, as it builds up on the filter, is actually filtering as well. So it's like you're making a thicker filter. It's a pretty cool process, allows the filters to last a lot longer, and you get a much better final product. So we'll show you putting that in as well. And you can buy this from any food supply company. CDL in Canada sells it, in the States as well, and you buy it in these 50-pound bags, and it's not that expensive. Okay, so we're just going to set up our filter here. Got it nice and cleaned out. And first thing we're going to do is just put our gasket. Just make sure that it makes a nice seal. And then our stainless filter grate. And we're going to put our polyester filter. This one's been used once already. We just cleaned it with water and let it dry. And then our pre-filter. These you could reuse, but we just throw them out. And we're going to put our top on and clamp it down. Okay, and then we're good to go. Okay, so here's our final reading before bottling. We're at 190.2, as you can see there. And if you can see our chart on the wall there, at 185 to 193 degrees Fahrenheit, we should be between 60 and 60.4. And our hydrometer is floating at 60.2 right now. So we're right on where we need to be. Okay, we're just going to put some of the DE in. So for 8 gallons of this syrup here, we're going to put in about 1/2 of a cup per gallon. So it'll be 3 of these. Just mix it in. Dissolves pretty well. You gotta take it off. Okay, so my dad's just starting up the generator there. We've got our vacuum hooked up to the side with our valve closed, vacuum gauge is on. DE's in and syrup's at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're gonna pull it through the filter. Okay, so we pulled it pretty much all the way through there. This is the filter aid you're seeing here. That's the DE and all the impurities. The tube. And we're just going to turn the fire on super low just to maintain the temperature. And I found if you keep it really low, it won't make more niter precipitate. What's that? Oh, we got it, yeah. Back a bit more. More. There. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so like I said, we got the heat on super low. We're just trying to make sure we get back to 180 at least before bottling. And if you keep it super low like this, I found that it doesn't precipitate any more niter. So should be good there, and we'll get to bottling in a few minutes. Okay, so we're back up to temperature. We're just over 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Try to keep it around 190. By the time it hits the bottles, goes through the tube, it just ensures that it does stay above 180 Fahrenheit. And so we got our bottle there. We're gonna screw our cap on fairly tight. And then we're just gonna either upside down or sideways for a minimum of 3 seconds. You don't need to store them upside down or put them on their side, all that. Basically 3-4 seconds of that 180 degree plus liquid is enough to sterilize your caps. And you're good to go. Okay, so yeah, there's the bottling process. Biggest thing is just keeping in mind you want to keep that temperature no more than about 190, 195. And you can see how low we have the flame here, even lower, because you can see it climbing up. If you keep it about right there, it'll keep it right where you want it. And when I was mentioning about the shape of the bottom of this pot earlier, it's actually perfect. The pot, no part of the bottom of the pot actually sits on these grills, because if you look at a flat bottom pot after it's been on this burner, you'll see that there's little bit of burn marks in the bottom of the pot inside, where the heat transfers from these grills to the pot, and that's what precipitates the sugar sand. But if you can see here, there's the weld, there's the seam of the inside of the pot. It's actually up off the stove that amount. So the heat hits the middle and it kind of travels up the side. So there are some bottlers that are water jacketed. It is nice because the water stays at the exact temperature and there's no messing around with this flame, but for us it's fine. Just this little flame and the way this is shaped actually keeps everything in here perfect. So it works out really well for us. And I'll just show you the labeling process right now. Pretty simple, and that's all there is to it. Clear stickers made, and we just place them on the front. Sort of align them best you can. And for these square ones, I just make like a cross and then go out the corners like this, and that seems to eliminate as many bubbles as possible. These are a little finicky. They leave a few bubbles, which aren't great, but they're not bad for this year. And that's pretty much it. That's the finished product. So that's ready to go, ready to eat, ready to give to someone, friends, family. The ones that are being sold, because we're in Ontario, so what they require in Ontario is we'll put a grade label. So there's 4 different grades of maple syrup based on the, well, it's basically the clarity. So there'll be light all the way to dark, and there's 2 in between. We'll grade this with a little Hannah grader, which I'll do another video of. But anyway, we'll put the grade label. It's a little round circle that we'll put on the top. They need to have the quantity. These bottles happen to have the quantity on the bottom, 250 milliliters. And where it's made, what farm it's from, and you're good to go. And we also have labels for the back that have our names on it. And in Ontario, if you're selling these, that's all you need, and you're good to go. So hopefully that helped you guys out in your big or small scale maple syrup operation.